Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
This is the Presidential Advisory Committee on Electoral Integrity, and that is the President of the United States.
I'm honored to welcome you here today as the bipartisan Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity prepares to conduct its first official meeting. Very, very important. This commission is tasked with the sacred duty of upholding the integrity of the ballot box and the principle of one citizen, one vote. Every time voter fraud occurs, it cancels out the vote of a lawful citizen and undermines democracy. Can't let that happen. Any form of illegal or fraudulent voting, whether by non-citizens or the deceased, and any form of voter suppression or intimidation must be stopped. I'm pleased that more than 30 states have already agreed to share the information with the Commission, and the other states, that information will be forthcoming. If any state does not want to share this information, one has to wonder what they're worried about. And I asked the Vice President, I asked the Commission, what are they worried about? There's something. There always is. This issue is very important to me because throughout the campaign, and even after it, people would come up to me and express their concerns about voter inconsistencies and irregularities, which they saw, in some cases having to do with very large numbers of people in certain states. All public officials have a profound responsibility to protect the integrity of the vote. We have no choice. We want to make America great again. We have to protect the integrity of the vote and our voters. This is not a Democrat or a Republican issue. It's an American issue. It's about the concern of so many Americans that improper voting has taken place and canceling out the votes of lawful American citizens. That is why President Theodore Roosevelt once said, "It is the affair of every honest voter, wherever born, to see that no fraudulent voting is allowed anywhere." I want to thank Vice President Pence for chairing the commission. I also want to thank Kansas Secretary of State Chris Kobach for serving as vice chair. It's going to be a lot of work. They're going to work very hard over a fairly short period of time, and I want to thank you both very much, Chris, Mike. This is a bipartisan panel consisting of both Republican and Democratic leaders and experts on voter integrity. I would like to personally thank each of our panel members for serving. Really do appreciate it. In addition to the chair and vice chair, this distinguished bipartisan panel includes Indiana Secretary of State Connie Lawson. Thank you. New Hampshire Secretary of State Bill Gardner. Thank you. Maine Secretary of State Matthew Dunlop. Former Ohio Secretary of State Ken Blackwell. Election Assistance Commissioner Christy McCormick. Thank you. Former Arkansas State Representative David Dunn. Thank you, David. Wood County, West Virginia Clerk Mark Rhodes. Heritage Foundation Senior Legal Fellow and Manager of the Election Law Reform Initiative, a real expert, Hans von Spackowski. President and General Counsel of the Public Interest Legal Foundation, great group, J. Christian Adams, and Jefferson County, Alabama Probate Judge Alan King. Thank you. Thank you very much. Each of you has been entrusted with the great responsibility of helping to advance the cause of fair, honest, and lawful elections. Your work will help protect our democracy. This will be a very transparent process. It's going to be very open for everybody to see. You will approach this important task with a very open mind and with no conclusions already drawn. You will fairly and objectively follow the facts wherever they may lead. I look forward to the findings and recommendations your report will produce, and I share your report as soon as I can and as soon as possible with the American people so the full truth will be known and exposed if necessary in the light of day. We call on every state to give its full support and total cooperation in this effort. Most of them have really done brilliantly, and we appreciate it, and the rest, all of that information will be forthcoming. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, and Chris, thank you. Panel, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Do a great job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Correspondent Amanda Walker's joining us from Washington. Hello to you, Amanda. What's he trying to achieve here?
Well, this goes back to when the president talked about millions of illegal votes that had happened in the 2016 election, and that caused a big storm at the time because there was no evidence, no proof of that. That was really widely viewed as Donald Trump not liking the fact that he lost the popular vote. Of course, he won the vote that counted, the Electoral College vote, but he lost the popular vote by nearly 3 million votes to Hillary Clinton. So since then, the White House has been promising an investigation into this alleged voter fraud. The broad consensus amongst those people whose job it is to monitor the elections has been, we don't have an issue. He talked just then about the importance of upholding integrity of the ballot box. And really, I think the broad view amongst those people whose job it is to do that say there is no issue here. But here we have the president talking about this fraud panel that will be looking into this. What everyone else is talking about is this second meeting with Vladimir Putin that we've learned about today that happened at the G20. The White House only disclosed this when they were asked about it specifically. Only a Russian translator was there. We don't know the content of what was discussed. Donald Trump has had this to say about it on Twitter. He said, "Fake news story of secret dinner with Putin is sick. All G20 leaders and spouses were invited by the Chancellor of Germany. Press knew. The fake news is becoming more and more dishonest. Even a dinner arranged for top 20 leaders in Germany is made to look sinister." Now, from what we understand, I've been speaking to Ian Bremmer, who's the political scientist who learnt about this meeting from other world leaders who were at this dinner, who were frankly surprised and concerned that this had happened, because it appeared to them, and certainly from what he said, that Donald Trump had a better relationship with this antagonist, which is accused of interfering in the 2016 election, than he did with the more traditional allies. So it's caused quite a storm. The White House says there's nothing in it. It was just pleasantries.
Okay, no, thank you.
In his hitherto undisclosed meeting, we shall probably never know. The only other person present was a Russian interpreter. Mr. Trump called the media speculation about the meeting sick. Here's our Washington correspondent, Kylie Morris.
I think it's going very well. We've had some very, very good talks.
This is what we know happened at the G20. We have some sense of what Presidents Trump and Putin talked about at their hours-long bilateral meeting because there were witnesses, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson among them. He spoke off-camera of how the president had challenged Putin over Russian interference in last year's election.
They had a very robust and lengthy exchange on the subject. The president pressed President Putin on more than one occasion regarding Russian involvement. President Putin denied such involvement, as I think he has in the past.
What's enlivening Russia conspiracists and White House watchers is what came next at the dinner for G20 leaders and their partners at a long table laden with international bonhomie. You can see President Trump sitting next to Akie Abe, the wife of Japan's Prime Minister. Sitting behind them, as is protocol, his Japanese interpreter, her English interpreter. Ms. Abe doesn't have his attention, though. He's gesticulating to the guy sitting next to his wife down the other end. What we don't see is after they've eaten, Donald Trump stands up and goes to sit next to Vladimir Putin.
Putin didn't come to him. He got up. He went around the table. He sits down next to Putin. They're yucking it up. It's very engaged. It's very animated. It's very connected. After a day and a half of summit where he didn't do that with anyone else, any of his allies, and I think a lot of people find that very disturbing.
There's no record of what was said, no acknowledgement even that the meeting had taken place before Ian Bremmer revealed it yesterday. Did President Trump promise anything on sanctions or Russia's helping hand at the election? The interpreter might know. He was seated at the left hand of Vladimir Putin.
And he is President Putin's guy, and he's going to make sure that whatever conversation happens really is for the president of Russia's interests, not the president of the United States. So I agree, if this was 5 or 10 minutes, that's what you use these dinners for, to say hello. But I would have much rather him had an hour with Angela Merkel.
President Trump's response to this outcry: the fake news, he tweets, is becoming more and more dishonest. Even a dinner arranged for top 20 leaders in Germany is made to look sinister. In truth, it's the controversy over whether Team Trump colluded with Moscow to win the election that's fueling concerns over his tete-a-tete at the dinner. In that context, a 45-minute pull-aside, hidden in plain sight, might not be standard diplomacy.
I've been